To some current high schoolers, they're Butch and Sundance. To others, they're Leopold and Loeb. The rampage was the second most covered emerging news story of the entire decade of the 1990s, edged out only by the O.J. Simpson car chase. In the immediate aftermath of that horrific day, there was no shortage of facile armchair explanations offered by observers. Some suggested goth music and particularly Marilyn Manson. President Clinton thought it might be the internet. Dr. Phil chimed in, blaming violent video games. Right-wing pundits like Newt Gingrich credited the hippie embrace of freedom of the 1960s, and Thomas Sowell argued that the 60s exonerated individuals from responsibility. It was society's fault. Speaker of the House Tom DeLay just blamed daycare, the teaching of evolution, and working mothers who take birth control pills. Then came the somewhat more reasoned academic explanations. Maybe, some thought, it's the media. Parents don't realize that taking 4-year-olds to True Lies, a fun movie for adults but excessively violent, is poison to their brain, noted educational avatar Michael Gurian. In her erudite warning on violence, Cicely Bach suggested that the internet and violent video games bring into homes depictions of graphic violence, never available to children and young people in the past, which undermines kids' resilience and self-control. Or perhaps it's guns. After all, firearms are the second leading cause of death to children between 10 and 14, the eighth leading cause of death to those aged 1 to 4. In 1994, 80% of juvenile murderers used a firearm. In 1984, only 50% did. But the amount of violent media content has surely been increasing, while at the same time youth violence generally, and school violence in particular, have actually been decreasing. Juvenile violence involving guns has also been in decline since 1994, largely as a result of the decline of the crack epidemic. As liberal firebrand Michael Moore reminded us, there are more rifles per capita in Canada than in the United States, and there have been no Canadian rampage school shootings. In both Britain and Australia, where there had been rampage shootings, intensified gun control laws have ensured that there have been no repeats. Maybe it's both. Barry Crisberg, president of the National Council on Crime and Delinquency, said that the violence in the media and the easy availability of guns are what is driving the slaughter of innocents. While then NRA President Charlton Heston believed the problem was actually not enough guns. Had there been armed guards in the schools, he argued, the shooting would have ended instantly, which is also what the current NRA Executive Vice President, Wayne LaPierre, said after the mass shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. But boys everywhere are frustrated, abused, and saturated with media violence, although not all of them live in places where guns are so readily available. Some have proposed psychological variables as possible explanations, including a history of childhood abuse, absent fathers, dominant mothers, violence in childhood, unstable family environments, or the mother's fear of their children. All possible, but empirically it appears that none hold up. Most shooters come from intact and relatively stable families, with no reports of child abuse. Subsequent government-supported investigations, such as the FBI report, the Surgeon General's report, Youth Violence, and the Bureau of Justice Statistics, Indicators of School Crime and Safety, 2000, as well as a major study of bullying, all concentrated on identifying potential antecedents of school violence, such as media influence, drugs and alcohol behavior, internet usage, father absence, and parental neglect. But surely these influences are far too universal to predict why some kids who are subject to these large-scale influences pick up guns, and others, the overwhelming majority in fact, don't. These large-scale cultural explanations got so vague, so grandiose, that they were utterly unpersuasive. We needed to get closer.